are listening to the most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Fouché Way radio show, live every Thursday at 1 o'clock p.m., sponsored by the nonprofit organization called Canine Hope for Improvement Program, where we hope to improve the quality of our dogs' lives by moving towards a no-kill society. The number here is 818-602-4929. Well, happy Thursday, everyone. I want to tell you a story. This morning we had what's called a little beatdown. This is what Nancy at Palm Springs with Animals Matter, she calls a fight, a beatdown. So I had a beatdown today, and it's really more of an argument, which I allow for dogs to do, because in rehabilitation, how can we truly say a dog has been rehabilitated if they don't know how to judge their level of aggression? And so when something like that happens, I need to be able to stop it verbally, meaning just with my voice. And then, of course, we have to put the dogs back together again, because that's what this is all about. And in doing so, you know, when I put everybody together again, I went back to cleaning up, and a song came into my mind. And it was a song that reminded me of when I was a kid. It was a funny song, a silly song, a witty song. And I was wondering how many people remember hearing it themselves and how it made them feel. And so I wanted to say a little bit about that and kind of embarrass myself just a little bit. What does it matter? It's about dogs. My dogs are embarrassing me all the time, so I could do it myself. But anyway, it kind of goes like this. If I could talk to the animals, just imagine it, chanting with the chip and chimpanzees. Imagine talking to a tiger, chatting with a cheetah. Oh, what an achievement that would be. If we could talk to the animals, learn their language, maybe take an animal degree. I'd study elephant and eagle, buffalo and beagle, alligator, guinea pig, and flea. I would converse in polar bear and python. I would curse in fluent kangaroo. And if you ask me, can you speak rhinoceros? I'd say acosaurus. Can't you? If we could talk to the animals, walk with the animals, grunt and squeak and squawk with the animals, and they could talk to me. Wow. I will always remember that song, Dr. Dolittle. And it's always been one that made me feel good. And if I was a doctor, I think I would be called Dr. Do-A-Lot. And I might be doing too much right now, but it is what it is, you know? And you have to take these moments that move you and take you to a time and place that renews you. God knows I do. The stories that I hear on a daily basis are tragic for me as well as the dogs. And any way that we can relieve negative stress in ourselves as well as dogs, I suggest you do it, man. Clear your mind. When you hear me speak on genetics in dogs, I'm talking about the social media mind of dogs, not just what we are born with. And the mind can be early imprinted on. You know, that word imprinting is usually referred to an animal that is a newborn, such as in the studies of geese and ducks. Of course, when they're born, they wake up, they see something moving, and they imprint on that. They move along with it. But in this case, we will be talking about dogs. And I'm using the word imprint because I want you to think of the dog as a new, helpless creature needing our help and guidance. And they really do. To live in our world, we selectively bred for them to live with us. And it has been documented. And you have heard me say many times between the ages of 5 and 12 weeks, if a dog sees and only lives with humans, they can become aggressive to dogs. And vice versa. Spending time with dogs and not people, we end up calling them feral. This is the imprinting phase. So when people are deciding to get a puppy or an adult dog, what they really want to do is be the first to imprint on them. But what the human doesn't understand is that once it's done, that's how the puppy sees and feels about people. So it really doesn't matter whether the dog is an adult or a puppy. And it is the only thing that we have decided to do. We want to go through this potty training. We have to decide, do we want to deal with that potty training? And that's the only thing we have to decide. And even though the imprinting is done, the biological clock that tells it to be a dog is ticking, no matter how we would like for the dog to be. We just can't breed them to make a 5-course meal. But we can breed selectively to produce dogs that will bring food back. So with that being said, are we doing the right things to produce a dog that's going to be the best pet? Well, let's see. You know, dogs are studying us more than we are studying them. And they look at us directly in the eye. Why? Because they want to get it right. And they have been studying us for many years. You know, there are many studies that are being done, and when a dog looks at us in our eyes and we open our eyes and we close our eyes, there have been studies on that. So we have to hear me and talk about body language. When you hear me talk about that in the future, I'm going to be talking about their responses to our responses. Let me explain. A repeated neurotic behavior by a person can produce a neurotic dog. You have heard me say, my dogs have taught me everything I know about them. And because of that, they have changed me as a person. I'd like to explain a bit. If I see 1,000 dogs that behave the same, and I introduce one more dog and that dog acts different, I'm pretty sure that the behavior is learned or a genetic problem. It could be due to something medical also. And so I start from there. That's where I begin to work with a dog. Genetic behaviors and learned behaviors. And so whatever is learned can be unlearned. And whatever is genetic can be understood. And maybe whatever is medical can be fixed, such as in a torn ACL in the medical area, or barking at the door in the learned behavior area, and inbreeding in the genetic part, which is very interesting because when breeding for certain traits in related animals, when trying to improve a dog in one way or the other, let's say, for example, fetching and retrieving, you can also be producing unwanted effects like what we find in the boxer, who may be a good guard dog, but as a breed, it suffers from skin cancer. And so cancer has been accidentally selected genetically in that breed. And I'm talking about that because I've had many dogs that have had cancer, and I've had clients who've had dogs that just recently died that were boxers that had cancer. But what does this all have to do with imprinting? You see, I believe that dogs are like superheroes. And because I feel that way, I treat them differently. I imprint on them. Why? Because they have abilities that represent superheroes. They have acute smelling abilities, direction, navigation. They're able to sense changes in their environment and move to better places. They have that and much, much more. I mean, they have things that we are still beginning to understand. And they have learned to control us with those abilities. But by me watching them and their behavior in relation to aggression, and I have picked aggression to single out because I believe it is the highest form of communication. It is truly shows itself to be the most emotional, and it has the ability to alter our lifestyle. It has changed mine. They have taught me to be a very patient person. So they have changed me. You see, it can be used against them. Not the aggression itself, but the cause of the aggression. The aggression is the symptom. It's not the problem. And we have been taught to treat the symptom, not knowing that the problem is our inability to socialize because of what we do after we have imprinted on them. I'm talking about the learned behaviors. It's interesting that the greatest problem that we have with our dogs is something that we have the most control over, learned behaviors. But we have never been taught to think that way. We think that what we teach a dog is what makes him or her a good dog. But it is not that. It is what we can introduce him to that will save their lives. I have, over the years, introduced dogs to cats, rabbits, birds, ducks, snakes, monkeys, horses, pigs, cows, and absolute success. But not by what I teach him to do, but rather how I make them feel when I socialize them. This has to do with how you choose to express your love. I remember a song, Johnny Cash had a song with a boy named Sue. And it was an indication of their love. He felt that if he could give the boy a name that would make him strong, that he would live. It has to do with the way you want to express your love. So how do I love thee, dog? Let me count the ways. And when it comes to dogs, we use treats, we use sweet talking, hugs, kisses, and anything else that we can look at that represents positive reinforcement from the human's mind. That's right, from the human's mind. But what makes us think that we're right with all of our training concepts? And if we are right, why are we still having so many problems? Why are we killing so many dogs today? You know, when I walk through that shelter and I count all the way to 300 dogs, I can't help thinking that each and every one of those dogs were tricked into being there because of what we are doing with them by bringing out a side of them that gets them in trouble. I'm talking about the predatory side. Now, you know, some people, they don't care about what I'm talking about. You know, they don't care about this. They think that this is a bunch of mumble jumble, poppycock. You know, they just think, oh, he's making stuff up. That's what they say. How could love and affection, positive reinforcement, ball playing, tug of war, chase, stuffed animals, squeaky toys, traditional training cause aggression in my dog? How is that possible? Well, I'll let my first caller explain the journey that they had with their dog named Lily, and you will be the judge. I'm sure that they were thinking the same thoughts. How could that make my dog aggressive? And with that, I'd like to introduce Donnie and Jen, who have a dog named Lily. How are you today?
How you doing, Brandon?
All right. You know, I want to tell our listeners, because there are many people who have dogs just like you that are thinking about giving their dog up, and you're no different from anyone else. You've followed the program, what society has said about what we should be doing with our dogs, and you ran into some roadblocks. And I want you to tell our listeners what you've been going through with your dog before you met me. Tell us about Lily.
Sure. You know, we rescued Lily. It was about 4 months, right, Jen? Somewhere around 4 to 5 months or so. You know, and you know, she was you know, an average puppy that, you know, we would play with and we'd buy squeak toys for, and all the things that you described, you know, play tug of war, just like any puppy would.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of noticed, you know, over time that like around 6 to 8 months that she started to show slight signs of like aggression or dominance, whether it was, you know, around their food or whether it was around treats. But, you know, we kind of just, you know, said, well, maybe that's just the kind of dog she is, you know, and kind of brushed it under the rug and continued to, you know, potty train her and work on all the, you know, regular stuff that you would.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then as she got a little bit older, you know, we were advised to take, you know, the normal, you know, pet store classes and training classes, and so we did. You know, we kind of still noticed these little signs that she was a little different than other dogs, where she was a little bit more dominant and still kind of aggressive. And then over time, when we would like take her around our friends, she kind of would start to bark at our friends and, just kind of not the average stuff that you would see from a dog that was still like a puppy still. And then we continued to work with her, of course, and then some kind of red flags popped up when she had bitten my hand at one point, and like, oh, that's kind of strange, even though we're just taking a treat away from her. But we were told, well, that's what happens when you try to take a treat from a puppy. So we kind of discouraged ourselves from thinking it was anything more than that. But she would bark at people and our friends, and then she actually nipped one of our friends when they were over, and that was concerning to us, of course. So then we reached out online and kind of did research and found some behaviorists that became, were highly recommended. So we had sought their guidance on, is this normal? How do we work with her? And they suggested the prong collar and the shock collar and certain techniques that it seemed like she was kind of resisting. It was like, it's almost like it was masking the issue, and we weren't really getting anywhere with her reaction. It was she was still doing it, but it was now she was fighting it more. And I think
almost like it wasn't teaching like us how to, like, okay, we can play with all these gadgets, but it wasn't like we felt like, how do we help on our end? All these gadgets can do so much, but we're not seeing a change in her.
So you're spending money on gadgets, and you're not seeing the results that you need, and your dog is not really changing. In fact, sometimes you see they start to act out more because they find out different ways to get what they want.
Right. Yeah. It was almost. Yeah.
When the bark collar was on, she completely acted a different way. But when we wouldn't put it on her, she was back to her old self. It seemed like she wasn't learning; she was just getting smarter. Around us. And
I always say, how can you be upset with a dog that's smarter than you?
Right.
Well, there's people listening, and as I said, there are people that have dogs just like you. I mean, how is this really affecting your life? I mean,
a roller coaster.
Yeah, we both of us are very stressed out and emotional, and with Lily, because we love her and care about her, and there were times, especially when we were seeking guidance of a behaviorist and the vet and other people that we respected their opinion, and they were all kind of, well, that dog's a hazard. She's going to bite the wrong person. You're going to have a lawsuit, liability, and these are scary things. Not only do you not want that to happen, but you don't want your dog to end up getting put to sleep. Which is and that being our and it's part of our responsibility. And we felt, well, we could give her back to a shelter, but then is that really helping the dog? And then what the worst case is, what if it's us? What if it's not the dog? What if it's us? And I think we kind of teetered on that fence for a long time, going, well, should we give her back? And the emotional roller coaster of that, and not wanting to, but knowing the alternative and maybe some bad things happening if we do keep her. So it was very emotional, much more stressful and emotional than I ever thought. I think both for Jen and I.
Yeah.
What kind of things were happening for you, Jen,
almost
too?
Almost like a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, ticking time bomb. That's a good example. But give me, what actually did you experience? Were the experience different from you, Donnie, than it was for Jen?
I think we both kind of handle it differently, but I think we both were absorbed with it, I think is the correct term, because it's a heavy situation. It's like, obviously there's emotions involved. You love the dog. It's part of your family. We don't want to give up on the dog, and also, like I mentioned, if the alternatives, if something were to happen, if she bit someone else, if she already bit one of our friends. Luckily, our friend was nice enough to and it was kind of a nip, and but it's not a situation that you want to put yourself in time and time again. And and then she had bit a dog at the daycare. We were happy with taking her once a week to the daycare and thought that was going to help her interact with other dogs. And when she bit the other dog at the daycare, there was a bill involved, and then we were kicked out of daycare. So we felt like the bad parents,
Right.
So I think once we accepted that, hey, look, we're in this for the long run, then we knew that, we were on the hook. And you mentioned imprinting, and that effect on a dog. Well, we felt this dog had a clean slate when it was a puppy, and maybe some of it was inherent, but what if a lot of it wasn't? Well, that's our responsibility, and we felt that, whatever we got to do to figure this out, we got to figure this out. And I think there weren't a lot of options online. You go to all these, you read blogs, and you go to you hear all this stuff, and you get advice from the vets, and all of it kind of just circles around, and it's like a catch-22. You never really end up with a really solid, resolve to the problems that you're having.
It's so emotionally draining. Just, like Donnie said, it's just we're trying to figure out what we needed to do,
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, all the things that you're saying are what people go through. And I want to say this, I want to get this out here that, people are always asking, what do I do? And lately I've been talking about we always want to know what to do. And, I'm on this thing with teaching people how I work with my dogs. And it's not about what I do. It's about what I know. It's about what I understand. It's how to be for your dog, And
Right.
I want to ask you this. Do you think it was more important for you to understand how to be with your dog, or for me to tell you exactly what to do?
Well, I think, in regards to actually working with you and finding you, I felt that, you put upon us that maybe it was about us and looking at the dog and trying to understand the dog's point of view. As were before, we were trying to impose all these ideas that we were told about, this is what a dog should do, and you should have a clicker, and you should even consider medication for the dog. And these options just kind of seem like Jen was saying, where you're just kind of masking the real issue.
Right.
And, we started to just go, well, maybe it is the dog, maybe we're just, we felt a disconnect of communication between us and the dog for sure. But we felt that, well, we've tried everything. We've tried everything that people have suggested, and we've tried classes, we've tried reading stuff, and we're just not connecting with her, and she doesn't really seem happy or relaxed. And, what, I'm sorry, Jen?
But after talking to Brandon, to you, I felt like we really understood, you helped us understand why she acts like this and how she's feeling, and that's everything just clicked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything was okay, she's acting like this because she's scared. She's fearful. It's not because she wants to maul the next person that walks in front of us. And I think that's what we were just taught, how to with all the gadgets, But I think after talking with you and after meeting with you, you helped us really understand her mind and how it works and how she behaves and how she reacts to things. And it's not like humans do. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's how dogs do, and I think that's where Donnie and I, just everything was clicking. And, I could, when we were sitting in your office in our head, I could see, instances oh, okay, that's why she did that. And we kept looking at each other that's why she does that, and,
Right.
It was pretty awesome.
That's what I'm talking about. That is what's going to get you through to the light at the end of the tunnel, by understanding why. Because if you know why something is happening, there are many ways to solve it. Right? Because you're not treating the symptom. You go right to the problem. Yeah,
Right.
My dog is lunging. My dog bit someone. That's a symptom. The problem is, why is my dog doing this? And
Right.
we've never been taught how to think in that direction.
Right.
Just like when we play games with our dogs, everything is played in a forward motion. Throwing balls, throwing frisbees, throwing sticks, look over there, take that obstacle. It all has to do with moving forward. But the moment that we run into aggression and fear kicks into us, that's the moment that we start trying to get our dog to go backwards. Okay? But we never teach them how to go backwards. We never teach them how to become subordinate and submissive, how to stand down, right? We never teach them how to run. We never teach them how to be prey. We're always teaching them how to become more of a predator. And then when things hit the fan and you start having problems, we say, whoa, stop, sit, down, stay, heel, everything that has to do with moving in the opposite direction, right?
Right.
And so in working with dogs, emotionally, hormonally, we have to teach them to work with that hormone back and forth. We have to introduce them to that. That is our job. And that's why it's difficult for most people who work with dogs to understand how fear aggression works, because when we talk about fear aggression, we talk about a dog acting as though it's dominant, assertive, aggressive, but when it's really fear. But we have emboldened the dog to move in the forward direction when it's fearful. That's why we call it fear aggression. When if it's truly fear, they should be moving in the opposite direction, which is backwards, right?
Right.
But because we haven't been taught how to think like that, how to have that paradigm shift in thinking about our dogs, then we can produce this. And that's why this fear can learn to be aggressive. And that's why that dog moves forward.
Right.
We've got fear aggression, dominance aggression, subdominance aggression. Some dogs can be multi-layered. This is what the evaluation is about. And as I mentioned to you, your dog had fear, but we had to produce the hormone that made her move in the right direction. Okay?
Yeah.
If you're afraid, you need to be running. Don't move forward, right? You got to go backwards. When we say go back, I remember in a movie it says, hey, which direction were you going when you were going backwards? And the guy says, well, I'm usually backing up when I'm going backwards. But that's the direction I want you to go in. Okay? The moment that you say sit, the moment that you say stay, the moment that you say no, you are really saying backwards. Go back. Okay? And so, but it does not compute with the dog properly. There's a miscommunication there. And so I believe, with me working with all the years that I've worked with dogs with these types of aggression, you know, hormones, just like within us, can be functioning improperly. Okay? And we can be taught. We can be talked to so that we can make our hormones work properly. We don't necessarily need drugs all the time unless it's truly a genetic problem. Okay? And so with our dogs, we can teach them to move backwards, to get in contact with that submissive, subordinate side of themselves. Mm-hmm. But we have to produce it in them. In a pack, you have many dogs that have different levels within the pack. And each pack member has a job to put a certain amount of healthy pressure on each pack member. And so that pressure produces all of those hormones that I'm talking about. But with us, we only produce the love and affection side and the predatory side. We never deal with that middle side that's really the core of the dog, which actually unfolds into both of those love and affection and the assertiveness. It balances the dog out. That's what makes a good alpha, a good balanced dog. And so what I taught you is how to get in contact with that and how to bring forth the hormones that you need in order to balance your dog out. And when this takes place, you end up having a nice, calm dog.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, we've already tested a lot of, I mean, since meeting with you, even, a couple days ago, Lily has had a miraculous turnaround in her behavior. I mean, we Jen and I both listened to a lot of your podcasts when we were at our final, yeah, we're at our wits' end, and we're just going, oh my, what are we going to do next? And luckily, listening to a lot of your programs, and Jen's coworker had referred us, and then we're like, wow, this sounds perfect. It sounds like the magical solution. This is great, But we're skeptical, of course, like everything else. Yeah, Lily's worked her magic on a couple behaviorists, and then she's really smart to kind of trick them to play nice when they're there, and then when the behaviorist leaves, then she terrorizes again. So
right.
So we were a little skeptical, and then we met with you, and we really couldn't believe. I mean, it really, the way she acts now is completely different. For one, she used to pull on the leash in front of us the whole time on the walk, and now she walks like 5 yards behind us.
Okay.
And I can't believe I've never seen it since we've had Lily that she's done that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she seems happier. Like
she
used to pace a lot when we're like watching TV, and she's like just pacing after a long walk. So we know like it was just, I felt like she was anxious or stressed, and now I kid you not, like she's like laying down with us. Even when we're eating, she's not even begging. She's just kind of like just chill. It's not like she's not pacing. She's not running back and forth trying to bark at all the windows at people walking by. And we're just like, is this the same dog? Like,
right. Yeah, little trigger things that would normally set her off, like a trash can getting moved or our neighbor sliding his sliding door. We always knew that was a trigger that she would bolt outside and just, go to, level 10, AWOL on the side there. But, she didn't. And you could tell that she would take one or two steps of the old Lily and then freeze, think about it. And you could see her thinking about it and then come back inside. And Jen and I would look at each other like, wow, is this our dog? What happened here?
This is the difference between training, When you can reach the core of the dog, not who the dog became, but who the dog really is, and you tap into that and produce that hormone and bring it to the forefront, it's there. And all I need to do is give you the proper information to work from, and that's how you can go home and get that same results.
Yeah, and that was our biggest thing before, is we wanted to put the time in. We wanted to put the energy into making our dog a better dog, but we were spinning our wheels because we never knew what the right technique was. And now that we feel that we can stand behind this, we know that it's proven and it's working and our dog is happier and we're happier, now we can focus and work on this thing. And it actually, like you said, it's fixing the issue before it happens. So before she gets to that place, we're addressing it there. So we're not addressing the effect of her biting someone or the effect of something going bad. We're actually treating it before she even has the thought to do that.
Exactly.
And it embeds that into her. And she's happier and we're happier. And I got to say, two things happened. One is now a huge weight's lifted and we're very excited because now we possibility of our taking our dog to the vet without concern or walking her around with people is not a problem. Right. Having people over. And then, but it's a mixed emotion because on the flip side of that is when we left your place, we thought about all these dogs that are potentially getting put to sleep or put down or in a dangerous situation or bite someone else that no one took the time, like we took the time and you take the time to figure out that there is a alternative solution to this. That, it isn't, sometimes maybe it isn't the dog, that it is the owners. And we're happy to admit that we were at fault and it was us, and we're happy that it was us because I know we can fix that. But it's sad to think that maybe some dogs, got in a situation and got put down because no one took the time to look at a different angle of it. So
and with that,
emotion.
Right, and with that, we will close. But I want to say this to you. I always look at dogs like being in a relationship. If you can make them feel emotionally a way that fulfills them as a dog from the concept of hierarchy, which means that you have to step out of your comfort zone to become what you need to be for your dog, not from the concept of the way humans think, but from the way nature thinks. Okay? In a relationship, for relationships to last, we must be able to do the same thing. We have to be able to emotionally make a person feel that they want to be with you. Then they will do what you want them to do, and you will do what they want you to do. And that's what's happening with your dog. And so I want to thank you for coming in. I want to thank Mika for referring you to me. And
thank you.
yes, this is the reason that we're here. This is why Canine Hope for Improvement is here, to let people know the direction that we should be looking in is hormonally. That's how a pack leader controls his pack. He does not line everybody up in a straight line and hand out treats and say good girl and good boy and kiss everyone and say we're going to be happy. Okay? He says, do you accept me as your leader? Will you follow me? Can I represent what you need to be a good dog? Okay? That's what it's all about, and that's what we're going to be talking about every week. And I want to thank you again for coming to me and coming on the show. I hope to see you again very soon so that we can continue what we're doing.
Yes, sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you again, Brandon.
You're very welcome. All right. Well, I have a special guest in the studio today. It's a good friend of mine named Jody. And Jody, no, I was looking at the button here. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, I was looking for the button. Jody, and Jody has adopted a number of dogs from me. I think you got a total of 4 dogs now.
Yes.
And you've gotten 3 from me.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about what's been happening with you and what you've gone through. I mean, we always want to hear the dirt here. We call this the dirt. You know,
The nitty-gritty.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
Because it's really exciting. You've almost been doing this show for a year. So
yeah.
it's almost your anniversary, so congratulations
Well,
to
thank
you.
you. Thank you very much.
And I also have to give a shout out and applaud to Jen and Donnie, because like they said, a lot of people actually don't take the time or really don't even care or know what to do.
Yes.
That they don't reach out. And a lot of times people can't afford it either. And I understand that, but that's what makes you very different, because your knowledge, you want it to be for everybody.
Absolutely.
And you want to change things. And that's really important. And I was a client of yours. I met you at a time when I had a yellow lab named Baylor, who was an old man. He was in his last 6 months of his life, which I didn't know at the time. And my husband and I had gone to a shelter in LA. It was my first experience at a shelter in LA. And I cried my eyes out. I mean, I just saw all these dogs, like you were saying, you counted 300. And that was only at one shelter. And this is only in the city of Los Angeles. I mean, we're talking one shelter in one city of LA.
Exactly.
In compared to like the rest of America. When you look at the vast numbers of dogs out there. So I fell in love with this 6-month-old cute little pit bull. I'd never owned a pit bull before. We named her Bunny.
Right.
She looked like the dog from the Little Rascals, you know, Petey with the spot on her eye. Super cute. We did everything wrong. Everything wrong. She was pulling down spices out of the spice cabinet and destroying our house. She was laying on the couch when we were gone. She was biting people.
Yeah.
She became dog aggressive. I mean, everything. We went through the list of trainers, just like, you know, Jen and Donnie said.
Right.
We even had a trainer tell us we should file her teeth down. I looked at her like she was crazy, and Bunny bit her on her way out the door. So, which I kind of didn't mind. I thought, all right, yeah, I felt the same way. And then a woman named Mary Lagana, was that?
Oh, right. Yeah.
I saw her outside of Petco, and she gave me your number, and it really saved my life and pretty much has changed my destiny since moving to LA.
Changed your life too, right?
Yeah, because we've met and become friends, and I now have 4 dogs, 3 of which are yours. Sadly to say, and this was one of the hardest decisions Mika and I had to make. You had told us about like imprinting. When we had done everything wrong with Bunny, we had really actually kind of damaged her.
Yes.
She had so many scenarios and things happen to her just in that short time that we had her. We weren't able to work through it. You rehabbed her. She was great. She just wasn't great with us.
Right.
And you told us we couldn't keep her. And I, again, cried my eyes out. I
Yeah.
mean, all night, all the next day. We were both very distressed, but we realized it was the best thing for the dog because you were going to find her a good home. And now I think she lives with a Buddhist
Right.
teacher. How does that happen? So we gave in one dog named Bunny. We got a great dog named Benny
Right.
after my Labrador passed away. And then we just kept taking dogs.
Absolutely.
But we have had our challenges with Benny along the way.
Well, you know, Jody, this whole concept about training, which I know you don't do, and you've got 4 dogs, you never need to do any of that. And I know it's difficult with a lot of people to let go of that word, to
Right.
let go of those things, you know. And usually, if a person really wants to be honest with themselves, when they find themselves saying those words, sit, down, stay, if they're honest, they're going to say, you know, at the time that I say that, I feel fear.
Right.
I feel fear, you know. And when you see people going to training classes, they really don't want to be there, but there's no place else for them to go. Because if their dogs were fine, they'd be at Runyon Canyon, they'd be at the dog park, they'd be at other places, right? So, and what I'm saying is we feel that because we can't go anywhere else, then we can go there. And I understand that. But for how long? You know, you're going to have to at some point leave there. That training's going to have to actually get you where you want to be, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why some people come to me and one day they see everything that they, within a couple of hours, that they've been trying to get for months and months and months. So that's why I say we need a change. I'm not saying that training is bad. I mean, because how could it be bad? But what I'm saying is it's limiting us. We have to become more than that. We have to learn how to be. You are being a certain way with your dogs, and that's why you're able to have 4 dogs now.
Well, you know, you said something to me, and I held on to that all the time, because not only do you have rescue dogs, about 70 of them, only because you're crazy that way, but you have 2 rescue horses. And thanks to you, I now have 2 rescue horses, too, so thank you for that also, 4 dogs and 2 horses. I love being your friend. It's wonderful.
Great.
And I love them all. But you once said to me, Jody, treat the dogs, because I've had problems. I mean, dog bites. I've had the end of my finger ripped off by another dog in a dog fight with one of the dogs that I currently own. He's huge. He's a 95-pound massive pit. He's gotten attacked by other dogs and is now fearful that every time a dog comes up to him, he's going to bite him. I'm still working through all these things, as you know. Like I'm still on the Fouché way, where I'm on the path. But you said to me about treating the dogs, look at them and be with them the way I am with the horses. Because the horses, you know, you got to be strong with them.
Right.
And they don't lay in your bed. They don't lick your feet. They don't do all these things that a kid like, you know, to have like a kid that lives with you.
Right.
So you're tougher with them. And you told me that was the best advice. You said, be the way you are with the horses. Like, oh, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
And it's that feeling like, it's going to be okay. I can do this. Like, I can walk all 4 of them now and not be terrified when I run into my neighbor who's afraid of them, who gives me the stink eye, you know, every time I walk in the neighborhood. And so, like, before I came here, I walked the dogs. I was like, no, I'm not going to go on the path where nobody is. I'm going to go in the middle of the neighborhood. I'm going to take all 4 of them. We saw babies. There were no baby maulings today. There was no dog fights or beat downs. I love it. We had no beat downs today. It's that feeling of confidence.
Yes.
And I can do this. It doesn't mean I'm not still working through this stuff. And I do want to be able to take them all to Runyon, and that is a goal of mine, because I love to hike and I love to hike with them, and I don't want to be afraid. My biggest fear is that another dog will be off leash and run up to me with the dogs. And only Benny, the big one, am I afraid, because he's fearful, he doesn't feel like I can protect him, that he would bite them instead of them biting him first.
Well, let's tell the people, now that you brought it up, you brought up something else too I want to get back to about the horses, that I want to reveal a secret about that. But I want to talk about Benny, because it's really important. Benny was attacked.
Yes.
when you were walking him, or Mika, your husband, was walking him?
Thank God it was my husband and not me, because I think it would have been much worse.
Well, I want you to tell the people where this problem came from, why you're having a problem with Benny. I want you to tell them what happened quickly.
This was, at the time I only had Benny and the Chihuahua. And Mika we used to walk them. We lived in Laurel Canyon. People have tons of dogs there. We were walking in the neighborhood like we do every day, every evening. And he was by himself. A neighbor I think it was the wife, was walking her 3 dogs, the biggest one being a 130-pound Mastiff, a Bulldog, and then another mutt. She couldn't control them. She let the leashes go, and they all jumped on Benny at the same time. The Mastiff was biting him up and down his spine. The Bulldog, too, and I think Mika got the Bulldog off with his foot, but he just pretty much released Benny's head to let him bite the dog to get him off of him, because he couldn't get the dog off of Benny. And before that, we had no problems. I mean, we took Benny everywhere. We took him to Runyon, Nichols. I mean, we took him hiking everywhere. He met dogs all the time, on the leash, off the leash. We never had a problem. After that, he was terrified. And anytime a dog came up to him, even in a friendly manner, just to say hi, he was going to bite down on their mouth to hold them from moving. Like, he was just like, I'm going to do something before you hurt me.
Right.
And I think we're still in a little bit of that place. That's still the mentality where Benny and I are, because Mika, he's better with. He has that deeper voice. You know, he has a little bit more powerful. I'm like mommy.
Right,
you know,
right,
I'm the mommy in the family. So that's.
But yet, even still, Mika's not getting him around dogs. He's not going there.
Right.
And I want to explain to our people, you know, because not too often do we get a chance to hear this story and know where these problems came from. And, you know, Benny feels that you guys can't protect him.
Right.
Okay. He feels that Mika cannot protect him. Although he feels more protected with Mika because he was in the fight with Mika and he broke it off, but he doesn't feel that you can protect him, and so he becomes more aggressive in the presence of you when he's out.
Right.
Now, interesting thing here, when Benny's with me, he feels totally protected.
Yeah.
He doesn't practice those shenanigans at all. And even with Leroy, he will feel the same way, because Leroy always says that, oh, you know, Benny acted up a little bit when Brandon wasn't here. And I want to say to our clients that it is a relationship that we develop with our dogs. If we can establish a relationship of leadership early on, don't wait until the problem takes place and then say, oh, I want to hear about what Brandon's saying. You know, before then I only want to do love, and we don't necessarily believe, you know, that this is going to create these problems until it happens.
Yeah.
And then when you come to me, you're coming to me out of fear. So the dog has fear, you have fear, and I'm trying to teach you how to become more assertive, dominant, and aggressive in your personality in order to save your dog.
Yeah.
So when I ask people to become this thing for their dog, I'm saying this is something that you have to do for your dog. And you should not look at it as being a mean person.
No.
Benny is a perfect example of a dog that feels that he's not being protected.
Right.
You know? And this is the problem that a lot of people have.
Yeah. He's come so far.
Oh, yeah, he's come so far.
Watching him play, you once told me after many times he's been at your place and he's social with the other dogs, but that he never played with any of the dogs.
Yes.
And he loves the Doberman puppy we got. He plays with her all day long. I mean, it's such a different dog. It's really...
Well, he feels comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
He feels secure there.
Yeah.
You know? All right, I want to say something. I want to give away a secret, you know, where a lot of my techniques come from. They always come from the animals. And when I have taught people how to walk their dogs behind them, this actually comes from the horses.
Oh.
You can't have horses crowding you, stepping on the back of your feet.
No.
Right? And so I make my horses walk behind me. Right? You can't have 1,000-pound, you know, and to me, horses are like big pit bulls, really. Yeah. You know.
Your horses act like big pit bulls,
right.
Brandon.
So they got to walk behind me. So I just want to tell our listeners, this is where this comes from. It actually comes from the animals. Everything that I have ever been taught has been through observing animals. And Wow, look at here. The time is rolling.
I know.
But I had a nice time, man. It just always seems like it's never enough time. And we're right here.
All right. Well, there was
it's 10 minutes.
There was one other thing that I wanted to say is that Brandon has inspired me to start a documentary called No Kill. And we're about to do the Kickstarter of that next month.
Yes.
And we had a caller that we wanted to call today, a celebrity DJ by the name of Adrian Lux. And he's at Coachella right now. I think we've run out of time.
Yes, we have.
I'm so sorry, Adrian. We're not going to get a chance to call you. We talked too long. That's my fault. But he has pledged his support and for No Kill and the Fouché Way, and that this is something that we're going to do, and we're going to get the word out there to everybody.
Absolutely. That's what our plan is. And Jody, you're going to come back on. I mean, today we ran out of time, but I want to have you back on because I do want to fill the people in on what it is that you're trying to do and what we're trying to do together. Okay?
Great. Thank you.
Well, thank you for listening, and tune in next week to the Fouché Way show at 1 o'clock. Thank you.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.